Moria, Through the Doors of Durin, is the most anticipated, long-awaited supplement for the One Ring role-playing game since its announcement back in 2012 for the first edition. Let's take a not-so-deep to awaken a Balrog look at the alpha PDF release for Moria, Through the Doors of Durin by lead writer Gareth Hanrahan by Freely Publishing. This behemoth of a supplement to the One Ring comes in at a whopping 227 pages as of the release of the alpha PDF, so it's safe to assume that the finished product will come close to that number. To compare page sizes, the core rulebook comes in at 248. Consider then the amount of lore, adversary stat blocks, maps, images, tables, and more that is packed into that volume. As I mentioned over on the Discord server in the Moria chat channel, a lore master could run this game for years in real life and never hit every entry that's possible for Moria. The first thing that hits you is, of course, the map. It's anything short of perfect, giving you both a top-down and a side view profile of the mines for your use. Fitting to canon, what locations that are highlighted and numbered start from east gate of Moria through to the west, breaking conventional wisdom normally seen in maps, at least for the English-speaking world. The book is separated into 5 chapters with an added appendices, all accompanying by art by regular artists already seen within the second edition, the One Ring books, and is an aesthetic that I personally love. First, we're presented with a thorough introduction, setting the scene for player heroes to venture into Moria starting in the year 2965 of the Third Age. Originally, as I've been made aware, this supplement was to follow the expedition of Balin to Moria in the year 2989 of the Third Age, and the option is still there, but it's tucked all the way back into the appendices for any lore masters wishing to run a small campaign with that at its primary focus. By starting in 2965, it keeps to what current events and locations are presented in the other One Ring material to match that of what's happening in and outside of Moria itself, and provides a unique setting not yet seen for the One Ring, what I like to call the ultimate dungeon crawl. That being said, it assumes a couple of reasons why a company of player heroes would venture into this ancient underground realm of the dwarves, those being: the player heroes are trying to travel through Moria to reach the other side of the Misty Mountains, due to other passes being well unpassable, similar to what befallen the Fellowship during the War of the Ring. Another is their task as part of a small expedition to explore the ancient mines in search of some ancient lore, lost treasures, especially rings. The writers highlight the retaking the city and fully exploring the mines is beyond really the scope of this campaign and book. As in other supplements, a tale of years is presented to highlight the major events that has happened within and outside of Moria, from a brief entry of the First Age through to 3019 of the Third Age, with the Fellowship of the Ring passing through Moria itself. And At the Gates the Trumpets Rang titles the second chapter. This chapter goes over the many other interests that have their eyes set on Moria. Individual NPCs in groups, both of the Free Peoples, wizards, and the forces of evil itself are described here. The chapter also poses to the lore master and ultimately the players themselves, what are they looking for or to get out of playing a campaign through Moria? Will it be a quick excursion through Moria as suggested just to get to the other side? Or is it a longer-term goal reclaiming parts of the ancient dwarven realm as wanted by Balin and his expeditionary forces? Or is it somewhere in between, like a group of treasure and lore seekers making short jaunts into the darkened paths, caves, and halls to plunder its secrets? It's definitely advised before embarking that both lore master and players discuss what they would like to do and set about preparing a campaign or add to Moria to an existing one. As mentioned, this could be a multi-year campaign in real life if one has the group willing to commit to it. The book highlights a number of potential focuses that a lore master can present to the players in what they want to get out of a campaign in Moria. From treasure hunters through to searching for ring lore for some infamous wizard, I wonder who that could be. The party hero's patron could very well be a rival to a different company led by another patron. A lore master in theory could pit, if they happen to be running separate games, pit 2 groups against each other. Either way, it's just an interesting way to bring some roleplay elements out into the game and bring to life the setting that is Moria and how everyone reacts to it. Many NPCs are presented, even noting that there are more than would normally be used in a campaign, So there's lots to choose from a lore master. Not all have to be used. Of these, other cultures and groups are presented that may have some eyes set on Moria, even if it keeps an eye out for growing orc bands, creatures that are nameless, or even to stop expeditions into the mine itself. Who knows what an experienced group could release to threaten the wider world of Middle-earth. There's a nice little entry into tying Moria to the Shire, which, for if your players have a group of adventurous hobbits, could be something to pull them into exploring Moria for the glory of the Shire itself. What's a landmark like Moria without rumors? 4 tables are presented here that give the lore master the options to give out false rumors, unfailed lore rolls, genuine rumors, successful lore rolls, famous landmarks whenever a single success icon is rolled, and obscure landmarks. 2 or more success icons are rolled during a lore skill test. Really like this added touch, gives the lore master some extra information to throw at the players, but also some agency to the players when they make that lore roll. Some helpful suggestions on the themes that a lore master can present during gameplay are provided at the end of this chapter, and ties into the overarching theme of Middle-earth at the twilight of the Third Age, that being emptiness. Journeys in the Dark titles Chapter 3. As the title suggests, the chapter goes over the unique rules for exploring and journeying through Moria. The map that accompanies the supplement should be considered as one of the lost tomes or artifacts that the company of heroes find during their research, or something given to them by a patron, like Thror's map that Gandalf gives to the company of Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit. Imagine rolling out the map for the first time at your gaming table, paper or cloth, special edition alike. Treating the map similar to that of a map of Eriador, the players would choose a destination and from their starting point map out their route. Following the new journey rules and events as presented in this chapter, the lore master adjudicates the results accordingly for the company, much like the map of Eriador for the players. Not everything is marked, for many tunnels, caverns, and halls were left off the map presented. Clues, a trail of breadcrumbs as it were, or lore discovered may lead a company in another direction altogether. The basic journey elements remain the same, but with a slight difference. Rolls are to be taken for the company during a journey like normal, but they are slightly different. The hunter role is no longer applicable, and instead are called delvers, their function being to ensure the safety of the marching company, inspecting tunnels, monitoring the environment, and so on. These elements are further explained during a journeying event that is rolled if the role is selected as the primary target. The skill associated with the delver is craft, something that dwarves historically have been very skilled at. The other difference is actually a big one. Ponies and other beasts of burden will not travel into the mines, save for the truly exceptional animals, a Bree pony for example, or unless a player hero achieves a magical success on an Inharten roll. Oh, and one more point to make. With no hunter in the group, and obviously of edible foods and drinkable water to be found, it's assumed that there is enough provisions carried by the group for the journey that they're undertaking. It's suggested here then, to keep it real, to add 4 points to their load score for each player hero, representing the personal burden of carrying the extra provisions. How to complete the steps of a journey is relatively the same as normal, save for the distances traveled, a specific Moria journey events table, and of course the change in roles and thus targets of the event. Oh, and as similarly to drawing the path of the map on the expected route, for Eriador, the same can be done using the Moria map, if you dare to draw on it. Another neat little addition to the journey, and could be adapted to above ground journeys as well, is the seeking and finding entry. Say they've heard but do not know the close approximation of a landmark. The company still decides on where it could be and makes their way to there. And to find such a place, and making a seeking test by rolling scan, and modified by the landmark's renown value, such as famous, obscure, or hidden, with normal, lose 1d to the roll, or can only be found with a magical success respectively. If successful, they find the landmark they were searching for. If not, they obviously don't and must roll once on the journey event table if they fail. More help for the lore master is presented to describe Moria in this section, and special consideration to eye awareness, different than what is presented normally in the core rulebook. Instead of their actions, the carrying of magical items and so on that could draw the ire of the shadow open to them, Noise is what awakens the beating of the drums in the deep of Moria. Rules are presented to bring to life the unique nature and feel of Moria here, and noise being an element we generally wouldn't consider too much on the outside. Scouts of the various orc tribes inhabiting Moria can be found anywhere, and they will seek out any intruder into their realm, and with the expectation of nothing to sound save their own. Any sound will draw them out towards an unsuspecting and noisy party. Matching the type of land from the main Eriador map, Moria is considered a dark land, so the hunt threshold is at 14. Matching or exceeding this threshold, a revelation episode is to occur. In Moria, the lore master can only use the one found in the core rulebook, but also the 4 tables as listed here in the Moria through the Doors of Durin supplement. And depending on the situation, the lore master chooses which to use, and we'll take a closer look at these when the official supplement is released. Oh, there's also a nice little insert that only impacts dwarves. Moria Madness. If any dwarves while in Moria experience bouts of madness, the player may opt for this shadow path instead of the one that's listed for their calling, while in Moria. The chapter finishes off with 2 random generators for the lore master to flesh out Moria that adds their own flavor to the game. A random chamber generator and a random orc band generator. We won't go into detail here, but suffice it to say there's a lot to use here and build an amazing experience for any group of players at the table that's unique and fun. Fell Foes titles Chapter 4. Well, what do you expect? The dwarves of Khazad-dûm were forced out of Moria with a force mere mortals could not comprehend. Moria still remains in the hands of agents of evil and creatures of shadow. This chapter goes over the different evil factions that inhabit the tunnels and chambers of Moria and roam the slopes of the Misty Mountains. 3 orc factions, Mordor, Undin, and Moria, hold sway in various areas of Moria below and above ground. The westernmost regions uncontested between the 3. The chapter describes each faction, their respective strongholds, their leadership, and their goals. Surprisingly or not, there are dwarves that are not exactly friends to the free folk of Middle-earth and represent dwarves who had not escaped with their brethren outside of Moria. These slave dwarves, as well as something lurking in the realm invisible to mortal eyes, are possible encounters by delvers into Moria. The Belrog of Moria. We all know it's there. And its tale, its stats, and its reasons for being in the depths of Moria are all there for the lore master to tell to any who might chance to see its shadowy and fire-wreathed form. There's something interesting, unanswered questions that is posed to the lore master, and it's up to them to see if the players answer them. There's also a suggestion that what if Durin's Bane itself is not actually the Belrog, but some other agent of evil, a dragon perhaps, or even the Witch King of Angmar himself. What about an ancient weapon used by the orcs to cut down the Dwarven King, a weapon in direct opposition to that of Orcrist or Glamdring? Either way, either encounter is sure to be a capstone event for any campaign, and one where you may never see nor hear from a company of heroes again. The chapter ends with a handful of other denizens of the dark that are not covered in specific landmarks of Moria or the ones listed early on. Cave bats, ash wraiths, and something erythro called tappers. And in marrow eaters, stone toads, and possibly cave dogs. And you as lore master have enough to throw at a company of heroes who think Moria being nothing more than an empty mine. Don't forget, you can create your own nameless things from the core rulebook to also throw into Moria as well, if you don't think there's enough. Chapter 5 is titled The Mansion of the Dwarves. Chapter 5 is the bread and butter and largest of the entries for the supplement, as it should be. It thoroughly describes in exquisite detail all the main areas that make up the ancient dwarf realm of Khazad-dûm, as well as all the lands adjacent on the outside, like the Dimril Dale and the Mirror. The first part of the chapter highlights some important exploratory information that any group of delving explorers would need, highlighting the many entrances with a nice table for easy reference. Following this, we get into the section called Landmarks of Renown. They are in order of appearance in the book: the Dimril Dale, Old Moria, the Dwardelf, the Mountains of Moria, the Road, West Moria, the Deeps, and the Mines. As many of the entries are still in works in progress, particularly the maps, page references, and the like, we won't be going into further detail or a deep dive here in this video. That will be its own set of videos in its own right at the right time. However, what can be parsed from the information presented is that each area is quite extensively detailed, difficult, and could take any capable adventuring company many sessions to complete. Each area is broken down into separate landmarks of renown that make up the area, and each landmark may be something unknown to the adventuring party until they actually present upon it or discover rumors about it during their journeys. These are marked appropriately as either famous or obscure, and even the hidden. One so hidden it doesn't even have an illustration yet. Take a guess what that would be. Each landmark also highlights encounters with various NPCs or adversaries not yet mentioned in the book, encounters of various difficulties, some famous ones from canon, and leaning to the more difficult than not. Adventuring in either area of Moria is going to prove dangerous over and over again. Littered throughout each landmark are treasures to be found and information to be obtained that will further build on a company's ability to delve deeper into Moria, survive encounters with the various factions and adversaries, and maybe rewrite the history of Khazad-dûm itself. The appendix follows Chapter 5. Here we see what constitutes Balin's expedition and how to go about playing it for your game, if you so desire. As I recall, this was the primary focus of the original intent for the first edition of The One Ring, so it's a nice addition for those that have been waiting well over a decade for this, as well as for Gareth, who probably spent a considerable amount of time and effort and soul on working on this, before having to change to a different format and a different scope. This section describes in detail the timeline, new schemes and troubles, new fellowship undertakings, a tale of years specific to Balin's reign. It's small, but provides enough of the overall agenda of Balin's expedition to use what's presented in the previous chapters. Note, however, that you'll have to adjust the time and some of the events in the setting, as what's presented in the book itself is from 2965, whereas for Balin's expedition, it's generally set at 2989 as per canon. I Too Once Passed the Dimrod Dale highlights Gandalf's expedition into Moria in search of Thrain II, father to Thorin Oakenshield, in the year 2849. Use this section to help flesh out some rumors, or if Gandalf is the company's patron, provides the lore master with an ability to prompt the company into the right direction. Aragorn's journey into Moria is also referenced here, with some back and forth about exactly what that could have been when it happened in canon, and a suggestion of 2980 as kind of a roundabout's way of when he enters Moria. Nothing stopping, however, a lore master to move the dates around to fit their campaign. Imagine a company of heroes happening on a lone ranger who's perhaps injured, or they help in some way in a fight, only to find out later that it was Aragorn, son of Arathorn. We further learn more about Mithril, something that I'm not aware of that hasn't really happened before in a fantasy tabletop RPG setting, as in-depth as it is here. It's not a long entry, but provides a lore master with some thorough descriptions of Mithril, its various forms, and some Mithril enchanter rewards that can expand what's available in the core rulebook for famous weapons and armor. Take note of one in particular, Mithril weapon. Any one-handed weapon made of Mithril can be used to make brawling attacks, owing to its decreased and light weight. Next in the appendix is a magical treasure index for Moria. This above and beyond what presented in any of the previous landmarks in the book or any of the lore master would create. There's no specific location where these could be found within Moria, so lots to work with here for a lore master when they want to place some breadcrumbs to lure a company into further exploring the depths of Moria in search of wonders and treasure. A new dwarven culture is presented here in the appendix, Dwarves of Nogron and Belagost, adding some option for a player just starting to create a different type of dwarf. There's some notable differences, particularly to the cultural virtues available, like the one called Ancient Fire, reducing endurance loss from extreme cold, fire, and poison by 1 level. For example, from grievous to severe, severe to moderate, and so on. This may prove handy when fighting a creature that is wreathed in flame. The two that are presented replace Broken Spells and Durin's Way from Dwarves and Durin's Folk from the core rulebook, but the rest remain available to choose. Lastly, we get into the solo play rules, specifically written by Sean Tompkins and Matt Click for solo play into Moria. Unlike Strider mode, where it's assumed you're going at it alone, here you're part of Balin's expedition, leading your intrepid bands of dwarven explorers. The solo play rules give you the tools and abilities to manage your band of allies and your character as you navigate the dangers of the Long Dark as a solo player. You will create a character, recruit the starting members of the band, and set on a perilous mission in pursuit of the dream of restored Khazad-dûm. This is all complementary, of course, to Strider mode, but you don't need Strider mode to play Moria alone. All the rules are presented are sufficient to run the game and Moria here. Of course, if you want to explore, like Aragorn or Gandalf, Moria alone, use the Strider mode rules alongside some of the rules presented here to help you explore the ancient dwarven halls. There's so much to unpack in this section. I'll cover the solo play section of Moria in much more detail in a later video when the official supplement comes out. And there you have it, a brief dive into Moria through the Doors of Durin for the One Ring role-playing game from Free League Publishing. If you haven't already and the late pledge manager is still available, dive deep into your pockets and grab a copy, even if it's just the PDF. Whether you play the game or not, it reads like a good supplement to any bookshelf filled with Tolkien's works, and Gareth Attell definitely maintains the look and feel of Moria as thought by Tolkien, in my opinion. I'll be spending quite some time reading through again and again the material as presented here. If you like this overview video and my other videos, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to make the channel grow. Thank you to those that prompted me to do this video. I had no intentions of doing it. I didn't feel like I could have done it justice. Hopefully I've at least done some help in providing some useful information for those still debating on picking the supplement up, or even if you have, a quick guide to wrap your head around what's in the book. Happy delving. I'm Ryan of the North. Thank you for watching.